The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Invisalign, trusted by over 500 NFL players for their winning smiles. And broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your host, Nicole Hutchison.
All right, welcome into Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Invisalign. We've got you covered here in the SWBC studio. I'm Nicole Hutchison alongside Aisha Morrison, Jess Navarez, Christy Scales. And unfortunately, I wish we were coming with better news today.
I was going to say, look at our cool new logo.
I know, right?
That's cool news.
Pretty dope. Thank you, Invisalign.
Really yeah,
shout out to them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Hopefully we, get some arrangements there, but we'll talk about that later.
We have to take some positives where we can get them this week, girl. Our new
Absolutely.
logo, positive.
Listen, no positives, though, this week. Certainly not. Mike McCarthy actually just speaking to the media about 30 minutes ago and addressing all the injury updates. We'll start with Micah Parsons. He said he's feeling better. Deron Bland is in the same boat. Brandon Cooks, no status just yet on him, but tomorrow will be a big day for him. But Dak Prescott, the biggest story. Oh, wait, let me go with CeeDee Lamb. Sorry. He'll be having more tests tomorrow. And CeeDee Lamb did say that he wants to play. He expects to play. But, of course, the test will be the ultimate factor. Dak Prescott, though, the biggest story of the day, he'll be out for a couple of weeks. And that means it's Cooper Rush time. But before we break down the matchup from Week 9, the loss to the Falcons in Week 9, we got to talk about this impact that now this has on Cooper Rush. From what you guys saw on Sunday from Cooper, I mean, does it give you a little bit of faith that he can manage this team going forward?
Oh, yeah. I don't think there was any doubt from anybody in the building that he's the guy to manage things if you don't have Dak. And, they had a chance at the end, and kudos to the defense for getting 2 3-and-outs there in the fourth quarter and setting the offense up for the rally. They were only able to score a touchdown after one of those defensive stops. But I have to tell you, though, there was the point with CD taking himself in and out of the game there, particularly in the fourth quarter. Keep in mind that the shoulder injury is when he landed hard late in the second quarter. So he played that second half with the bad AC joint in his right shoulder. But I'm looking out, and it's when CD was on the sideline, and you had Cooper Rush throwing to Jalen Brooks, Jalen Tolbert, Kavontae Turpin, and Ferguson took himself out for a couple of plays because he's banged up too. And Brevin Spanford, you've got 2 rookies in the line, and then at one point another rookie, Ryan Flournoy, is in there, and it's like I felt like it was a preseason game, really.
Yeah.
So, but that's the hand you're dealt, and you've got to go with it. And for the positives that were yesterday with the offense playing up tempo, getting the run game going, Dowdle finally, over 100 scrimmage yards, it's still the same theme that we've been talking about for weeks. And after every loss, it's the self-inflicted wounds. So it doesn't matter if it's Cooper Rush or Dak Prescott or whether CD is 100% playing or not. If you're having these self-inflicted wounds, you're not good enough to overcome them. So the number one thing, the communication and eliminating those mistakes moving forward, because everybody has to pick up their game when you don't have the starters out there.
Yeah. I knew today would be a rough one coming in, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, could it get any worse? And it did. I mean, your starting quarterback's out for however long he's out for. And what I will say, something I've learned because of Cooper Rush and being here the last couple of seasons is what they do with your backup quarterback is they have essentially I don't want to say a watered-down game plan, but a game plan that is very similar to what you would do with Dak Prescott. Obviously, he's not Dak Prescott. I know that. But Cooper Rush is comfortable in the system. He knows it. He's no stranger to it. And another plus, Christy, to your point of having Flournoy and Jalen Brooks and Jalen Tolbert and even Rico Dowdle, all of them have worked very closely with Cooper Rush when they weren't getting those first guy snaps. So for me, they're comfortable with him. I know it's not a time to be positive, guys. I'm trying really hard, but I will say, like, that's a fact. So they have that chemistry with him. They trust Cooper Rush. And again, something I learned from Cooper Rush specifically, him and I have had conversations of, hey, how do you stay ready? How do you because you never know as a backup quarterback when you're going to need to go in. And something Cooper Rush does is he takes initiative to continue to get those reps when he can, especially with those younger guys. So all of these guys that you're seeing come up this year, especially, like I said, Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks, even Rico Dowdle, those were his guys that they were getting the second reps in with for the majority of the time that they've been here, if not the entire time, Flanoy. So I'm happy that we're in a comfortable position with a backup quarterback that knows this system, and it's not even more panic playing the catch-up game with a backup quarterback.
Yeah, Aisha's stressed. Everything.
I don't blame you.
Everything just said is like true as far as them knowing Cooper Rush, having experience with Cooper Rush, spending the time during preseason and all this stuff. Y'all, this is ugly, bro. Like, I'm just being honest with y'all. Like, this is just, and I think we did see some
Good things.
some things from Cooper Rush coming in. I will say, as opposed to previous years, I feel like he's a little bit more willing to throw the ball deep and a little bit more willing to take some risk and some chances. Because I know that's something he gets stereotyped with, is that he's just kind of bus driver, whatever the case may be. But nah, there was a couple balls he put on the money yesterday. That could have put you in that game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, you know, and I understand Atlanta's playing prevent at that point or whatever you want to call it. But, like, it wasn't too much of a separate. It wasn't enough for them to be playing prevent, in my opinion. They should have been playing defense. But let's leave it at that. But as far as what's going on with Cooper Rush, yeah, I mean, I think if they want to stay competitive and all those things, then sure, yeah, of course, you do that. I am curious to see if they are going to implement any level of having Trey Lance play or have him do anything in small situations and stuff like that. This is a unique situation. I mean, I think we didn't think that something like this was going to happen necessarily, so the opportunity to get both of those guys who are kind of on one-year deal type situations, playing time and some teach tape and stuff like that, I think will be good for their careers, but also, too, depending on how you spend it, good for this situation. But this is the injuries and everything. This is just a lot.
Let me ask, and Nicole, I'm interested in your opinion on this. In regards to Trey Lance, because I think that Trey Lance getting some time would be a few weeks from now, if Dak's out several weeks, that it's not going to be an immediate thing.
Yeah, of course.
I think so. I have kind of mixed emotions or mixed feelings about the Cooper Rush starting and Trey Lance not getting any play time as of right now. Because you look back at what Cooper Rush has done for this organization, and Mike McCarthy even talked about it. He's won some games. He's 4-1 in his starts here with the Cowboys. You look back in the 2022 season, he started actually in Philly. He'll be starting again this week against Philly. But if you're looking for someone who you're asking of Dak to be that mobile quarterback, use his legs, that's Trey Lance. He does that a little bit more, in my opinion. I think Cooper Rush has the ability, but if you're looking for looking for the deep ball, vertical balls, then that's also Cooper Rush. You saw that when he threw that deep ball to CeeDee Lamb. I think both of them give you good things, but I don't know. I would like to see Trey Lance get some opportunities, but I see why you have to go with Cooper Rush.
The reason why I think it's down the line for Trey Lance, if you're out of contention and things like that, but with Cooper Rush, you can run the offense and he's more accurate, and I like Trey Lance personally, and I know that when you're running the offense with third and fourth stringers in the preseason, it's not the same, but there was nothing in preseason to give me confidence.
That's fair.
I
agree. I'm just saying they both give you different things. And if you're looking for someone who... Go ahead.
I get what you're saying. But at this point, with what we've seen this offense playbook become, they don't want a mobile quarterback. Like, you're going to have to switch your playbook up a little bit if you want to implement Trey Lance actually moving as much as you know he can.
But you see what happens when your quarterback uses his legs.
Yeah, he pops a hamstring.
Aside from that.
He should have been using his legs a little bit more. A little bit more often. 3 carries, 30 rushing yards?
That's what you've been asking for.
Exactly.
And on Friday, we had talked about kind of how you go back to his numbers prior to this game. Dak Prescott only had, let's see, I made note of this. Actually, it's in my phone somewhere. Anyways, he had the fewest amount of rushing yards that he's had up until this point. Exactly. And I get what you're saying. Like, you want a more mobile quarterback, but again, I just don't see that changing whether it's Dak or Trey or Cooper in the mix, because I feel like the decision has been made, especially after this, we don't want him moving. Like, all of our hopes and wishes that he'd be a little more mobile after this, shut down. Yeah. We're not going to see it anymore.
Probably not.
This confirmed the fears that Jerry just talked about a week ago of, hey, we don't want him moving too much because injuries happen. Yeah. Like, of course.
And it was 24 yards coming into the game. 7 games, 24 yards.
And I had compared it to last year's numbers. Sorry, Aisha. Let's see, I put it right here. Okay, last year through week 8, which also included a bye week, he had 23 carries, 104 yards. His longest rush was 40 yards in week 6 against the Chargers. So when you had compared that to prior to this game, it was a little bit of a downhill.
They also had a better offensive line last year too, so you got to put that into perspective as well. Go ahead, Aisha.
Yeah, no, that was a part that I wanted to comment on. Well, number one, as far as Dak goes, I said this once, I'm going to say it again, and I mean it. If he's not able to run, that is a big hit to his ability as a player. It is a big part of why he is even the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Yep. So if that's gonna be an issue, I hate it. Number one. Number two, in regard to his mobility, I'm not saying that Dak isn't doing things in the offseason. Like, he puts on his armor. Like, he trains very hard to make sure that he can take those blows, take those hits. But I just feel like maybe he has to do more practical things in the off season with his mobility and still testing those things out and still doing those things, if that's something he's going to continue to do. Not saying if I know he is working that stuff or not. It just seems like clearly with the hamstring, if he hasn't ran all year, then he goes to run, then that became an issue. So maybe there's more practicality in his workouts in the off season. All I'm saying is taking away his running ability terrifies me. Because it's y'all, seriously, it's just a part of his play, how he operates, rolling to his right, rolling to his left, being mobile, being able to go. It's a threat, and so the fact that if that's taken out of his play, it's going to be a problem for me. Number two, in regard to Cooper Rush, I hear everything that you two are saying about him doing this before. He's had the experience and everything. However, when you look within that offense when he was playing, holy crap, they leaned on that defense very heavily. Holy crap, they were the worst in the NFL on third down. Holy crap, I'm just saying, like, there were so many things that weren't good within this offense, and this offense is worse now.
Yep.
Run game, scheme, talent, everything's worse. So to me, again, I do understand, like, he could come in and be the most efficient and everything, but who's to say that? Who's to say that?
You don't know.
Specifically with how not good this offensive line is playing, he isn't mobile. He isn't someone that can escape the pocket and do things outside of there. He did get a little wiggle. He had a little wiggle to him yesterday.
Yeah.
When you have a 300-pound person chasing you, you find wiggle.
You find it in you to be a little mobile.
I seen him. I said, Cooper, are you on the move, big dog? I said, are you adding that to your arsenal? So I will say that. So I hear y'all, but with the circumstance, I do think that Nicole poses a good point with Trey Lance. I agree, Christy. I think it will be later down the line if necessary. Because, baby, let me tell you something. Let him get that playing time. Let him possibly put some good tape out here. Because if you talking draft, rumble, it's seriously getting to that point. So those are my comments about the quarterback situation. It just feels icky regardless of who's out there right now.
We just getting started here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, and we having some fun. Up next, we're going to talk about this offensive line and this run game. Run game that actually wasn't the issue yesterday on Sunday. Look at us. We called it.
Surprise.
We called it. All right, stick with us right here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk. We'll be right back.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dickey family always mandated that the only Polish-style sausage worthy of their restaurant must have high-quality coarse ground beef and pork, rich spices, and fresh natural casings. We still serve it to this day, and it's so popular, Dickey's sausage has been named the official sausage of the Dallas Cowboys. The perfect matchup on game day. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. No one outsmokes us. Order at dickeys.com. For groups, call 866-BARBECUE.
Dibs on the ribs.
Head to AT&T Stadium to experience Rally Day presented by SeatGeek on Saturday, November 9th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Get ready to cheer on your Dallas Cowboys with tours of AT&T Stadium, autographs from the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, ticket giveaways, games, and more. Visit AT&T Stadium/Rally Days to get your tickets today.
All right, welcome back in here to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Invisalign. Go ahead and get your Invisalign.
Shouties.
Pretty
to
sure it's great.
Man, I can't wait.
I'm dead. All right, this offensive line giving up 2 sacks yesterday, I believe. Yes, let me go back and make sure that's right. Yes, it is 2 sacks. Sorry, excuse me. For the Cowboys. And 3, my bad. Math's a little bad, guys. 3 sacks yesterday on Dak, just putting him under distress. You talk about Tyler Guyton still struggling with penalties. He made up for 3 of the 9 penalties for the Cowboys yesterday. Guys, let's talk offensive line. What's y'all's thoughts? And I'm going with, and I'll just lob that up here.
Hey,
the struggles continue.
7 of the 9 penalties on the Cowboys yesterday were pre-snap.
Yeah.
So now, not all of them are on the offensive line. And by the way, Dalvin Cook is taking heat for being the 12th man on the field and not coming off. But we've learned subsequently that there was an error in the call out to the personnel grouping. So don't blame Dalvin for that. I'm just saying that you get calls from the sideline of personnel, and so that was the error there. But you just can't do it, and it still looks like they're having problems with the movement and the stunts, and so it's the same story over and over again. So I mentioned last week that I feel like it's one of those old record players, right? And the needle is stuck, and it's and you can't get through the song because you're stuck, and that's how I feel about the O-line.
I'm sick of talking about it. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I almost cussed, but I am very sick of talking about it because this is an issue we've talked about for a couple of years now. You can even go back to Tyler Smith's rookie season. Guess what the hell we were talking about? Pre-snap penalties. And I'm not knocking any of these guys because to me, it comes down to their mechanics and, how they're being coached in those moments. Like, to me, there's no more excuse. You're doing what you're being taught and it's not being corrected. And to me, when I see it from a guy like Tyler Smith now to Tyler Guyton, what's the common denominator with both of those guys? Like, fix it. Fix it because you're teaching these younger players really bad habits that are impacting the entire success of your game. Without those pre-snap penalties, could have had more of a fighting chance. And we won't get into the fake punt situation just yet. But I will say it's infuriating, and I'm tired of talking about it. Like, Christy, I'm with you. Put a new record in. Have us talk about something else for once, because this pre-snap penalty situation just digs you in a hole. And it's like, it should not be that hard to get a first down. And furthermore, you're 3-13 in third downs. Guys, like, these are basic football.
You didn't have a third down conversion till late in the third quarter.
That's what I'm saying. You can't, because you're getting yourself in first and long, second and long, because of your pre-snap penalties. Right. You're not setting yourself up for any kind of success at that point. And I can't blame the player for it. At this point, I've seen it happen time and time again with different players who learn different ways, who come in different circumstances and what have you. The common denominator is they are not being coached in a way that I think benefits them to not know, or to know better, and to break these habits. Like, who does that fall back on? I don't know exactly where, but to me, if I'm coaching this specific set of men, that's my focus. And why is it still not the focus at this point? I don't know.
All of them. I blame all of them.
Yeah. It's the
because there's
players
accountability
and
that has to take place
Sure.
on. I agree with you that it seems like a trickle down thing. It seems like a continuous thing. We have been talking about this for years now. However, this is the coaching regime that we have been talking about it with, not on the defensive side, but the offensive side. Yeah, this is the same head coach. It's the same situation. We talk about when you have pre-snap penalties and stuff like that, especially when you're going into a hostile environment like Atlanta, their fans feel what's going on right now. They feel that there's change going on, and they're excited. They were loud in there. You could hear them. I don't know if I'm sure you know. You were there. It was loud in there. These pre-snap penalties and stuff speak to preparation, speaks to mental focus. I think it speaks to, obviously, the basic communication stuff. We've been talking about it. I don't know how many times I heard over the intercom or over the TV that Greg Olsen was like, oh, the Dallas defense looks like they're having trouble lining up right here. Like, how many times do we have to hear the same things? But we have had Coach McCarthy come out and say they didn't practice well this week. I didn't think the install was good this week. Whatever the case may be. So it's like, to me, that ties into what is going on. And I'm not saying the guys aren't trying, but there's clearly a disconnect in either communication or what their expectations are. So that's a thing. Christy, you mentioned, that they did some things going hurry up and stuff. They found success doing that.
I love that. I love the tempo, especially to open the game.
Yeah, one of their highest no-huddle rates, 32.4%. And you know when you can't go hurry up anymore? When you keep getting pre-snap penalties. And so something that was working in the game for you that you had implemented in certain little parts, you could no longer do anymore because you couldn't but depend on your offensive line to be set. Your offensive line, your receivers, and your tight end, because, baby, all of them got some. All of them moved a little bit. It wasn't just the offensive line. It's equal
opportunity.
Yeah, it wasn't just the offensive line. And as far as the offensive line goes in general, I've said it once, and again, I just feel like I'm repeating myself. There clearly is a disconnect going on in what they are being, what is supposed to be happening. Because seeing Tyler Smith running into people, blocking people he's not supposed to be blocking, there's confusion, so much confusion on these stunts and twists and all these things. Like, listen, they're just not playing well right now, and that's even more reason why when we're talking about a Cooper Rush, I'm cringing.
I think that we could, and it's easier to blame or I guess point the finger on the fact that it was two starting rookies on the offensive line to start the year, and now like you mentioned, it's everybody.
No, it is everyone.
It's trickling down. Literally, your best player Zach Martin has had two of his I don't want to say his worst showings, but it's very uncharacteristic showings from a guy like Zach Martin looking confused. So to your point about, and I know this is not O-line, but Dalvin looking confused and, being confused. When your veteran players who've been playing this game for years and years are confused, that tells me there's a communication error across the board.
Yeah.
So it starts with the O-line, but it's clearly trickling on everybody at that point.
Well, there were instances I didn't see the second one, but I saw the first one where on defense there were just 10 men on the field. So the one in the first half where Atlanta scored on the 9-yard touchdown, the play to get the ball to the 9-yard line, the Cowboys had only 10 men on the field.
Okay,
So
I remember that now.
yeah,
Wow.
and so the we can't blame everything, as you say. It's equal opportunity. It's not just O-line, but yeah, these are. We kind of have a funny thing that we joke about on Cowboys radio. Brad Sham and Babe Laufenberg and I. This is from training camp several years ago, but we were talking about some of the different position group things, and it's like problems and issues. It's like, what's the difference between a problem and an issue? And I came up with something, and we joke about it since then. I'm like, everybody's got problems, but when you can't fix the problems or when they're not getting solved, then it's an issue. So these problems are now an issue.
That's great.
I like that.
It's Mama Christie right there.
Yeah.
I like that.
That was really good.
How the hell you fix this? Because that's the question.
Well, that was the question for Mike McCarthy, you know, and it's. Look, when it comes to offensive line and communication, here's going to be the test. Because he talked about the noise, and you're right, Aisha, it was very loud in Atlanta. It's loud, your road trips.
Yeah.
You know, but he anticipates that the pre-snap stuff will be better at home because you're not having to deal with the crowd noise. Well, here's what happens. The team practices when it's an away game, when they're in their team portion of practice, 11 on 11, they pipe in crowd noise, and they work on the silent count. So it's not like you just show up on Sunday and here we go, silent count.
Right.
You work on it.
Did you say that he said that he think it's gonna be better at home?
He did. Yes. Yep.
Stop.
Yep.
Don't.
So that's why I say
Don't.
That's why I say let's see what happens at home.
I don't care.
Are our problems issues at home?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
They have been.
That's
But
what I'm
so
saying,
let's
like,
say
oh, my dog is good when I'm at home, but he act the fool when he act like, what? Like, I don't, to me, I'm upset. What frustrated me about it is like, where is the standard of, no, this is, we are good at this regardless. Our communication is good regardless, but to say, well, it might be better at the house since, it better be.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that that took me for a world, sister.
We saw it in real time.
My bad, y'all. I wasn't prepared.
You should have seen the wave of emotions over
Because
here.
I heard bits and pieces of his presser today, but
Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's what he said. No, that's for sure what he said. So
it might be better at the crib.
How many home games have they won this
bro,
season?
get her out of this studio.
No, I'm just curious. How many guys?
We're not talking about it.
Because if it's not an issue at home, weird.
You get
So
blown
weird.
out at home. Like that's
Here's
I don't
my
like
thing,
that
though.
because that makes me
He
feel like
definitely said
there's that's the reason why last year was I'm sorry, but
No, you're good.
that's the reason why on the road was different than at home last year. Well, at home was different than on the road last year, and then they're flipped this year, but not really in real life, but then kind of, but sort of.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
That is the problem. Is that the standard needs to be the same across the board.
Whether
no?
you're home or away.
Let me. I wrote this in my notes from the press conference today. Nonverbal cadence on the road is a big issue in pre-snap penalties.
And you've been talking about that.
Yeah.
You've been talking about that.
It's almost like I have a crystal ball or something.
It's just.
And nonverbal is what we're talking about with silent count.
Yeah.
Listen, the offensive line has taken a step back in a way that is, I can't, y'all, they weren't that amazing last year. Better in pass pro, not as great in run blocking, but still better. This year, to see the decline is not, this isn't a normal decline.
You saying we got issues?
Plenty.
Ain't that a sound? Is it genuine?
It's a
don't know.
song, no?
My bad.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. We are not gonna do that. All right. Aside from that, we still saw Dak play somewhat well. All right. You look at the 75% completion rate, and him using his legs. You saw him just playing so much better. Not his best. Let me throw that out there. Not his best. But when you look at the execution, because what I tried to describe it as is it was the decision making and a mix of lack of execution in that game yesterday. If y'all had to pinpoint what it exactly was in that loss, what would it be?
Both. all of the above.
Well, that's why it's an issue,
Genuinely,
because there are different problems that if it's not one thing, it's the
No,
other.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, did he miss a couple of reads and throws? It was like, oh gosh, the guy's on the wheel route and he's there.
Yeah.
But he's also under duress, so pass protection is still a problem. The pre-snap penalties, which so that's if it's one thing, it would be fixed already. That's the
why
real
it's
issue.
an issue. No, I feel like for Dak, you're seeing a version of him this year that is essentially carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders and the weight of the entire offense, because I'm interested to see, and this is no hate to Cooper Rush or Trey Lance, whoever the hell ends up back there, Dak Prescott, if he, and given I know the scrutiny about the interceptions and all of that, if he has not been playing at a high level despite this offensive line problem, you would be in a way worse situation than you are right now. Like, it's because of Dak Prescott that you have moments of, hey, that's a good offense. That was a good play right there. Oh, look, you marched all the way down. He can only do so much with what he is given. He can only do so much when his pass protection is fallen short. Your receivers aren't getting separation. You can only do so much at this point. Like, how much better do you want him to place that ball? I mean, genuinely. So I think there's blame that could go for everybody at this point. Execution, is it an issue sometimes? Yes, because how many plays did I watch on both sides of the ball where guys are just standing there watching the play happen in front of them instead of fighting for the ball? That I've seen that plenty of times this season, and especially yesterday. It's like, even going into the second half, you have not been able to play a full 4 quarters of good football. The wheels just fall off, and it's like a very rapid decline. Like, when you get a flat tire, and trust me, I've done this before. My dad can attest to these stories very much so. You keep going and going, and you're like, oh, do I have a flat? You kind of hear it. You keep going more. It starts thunking, and then all of a sudden you may or may not be driving on your rim. And then you just hear screeching. But that's how the Cowboys have been playing football, is first quarter you come out, and you're like, oh, is this hope I feel? You have a chance. You're fighting for it. I mean, this one, let's see. They came out. They went all the way down, got Ferguson involved pretty quickly. You were getting guys out in space. You were doing what you needed to do. Ferguson had 42 yards alone in this first drive. And then guess what? The wheels fall off because you settle for a field goal, which, by the way, had you not there, could have kept you in the game. Okay, then you go to your second drive. Dak gets sacked, puts you out. Third drive, same thing. Like, fourth down conversion ends up being the fail in this one because you give the ball to CD to run. But my point is, you come out from this really good first drive here, and it works. Yes, you get the field goal, but it works. You're able to march down. You get everybody involved. You get Rico going. You get Ferg going. You get CD going. And then the wheels just start to fall off. So for me, that's an execution problem. It's a play calling problem. It's a coaching problem. Yeah, of course, we've seen that. But it's also an execution problem from the guys when they're frustrated. You can tell, and your defenses are honing in on that. They're like, oh, you're frustrated? All right, let's play. Like, they're easy to pick on at that point.
You actually, I'm sorry, I should have cut you off because you mentioned the 4th and 1 play, the jet sweep call, and Christy, I've got to ask you about that call and the reactions after that because you were on the sidelines. What was the reaction after that? And were they kind of, I'll say, pissed off that was the play call that they used?
I don't think they were just upset with the play call. And I think if you go back and the staff will tell you, it's that third down one that not getting that is and being in that position where you still had 4th and 1. But I mean, it was a great play by the linebacker. Was it Caden Ellis on that one that made the play? And the angle of CD. Yeah. You can say because they had it set. The two guys on the outside had the block set. And so kudos to the defender for making a good play. Yes. But was there what I felt change was got the crowd really going, so the failure of the fake punt, which I know we'll talk about next segment, and then that particular play, you can feel, shift. And just the Mo going to the side there, and that's what I felt after that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what drives me nuts, and I've been like fussing about it the last couple weeks. It's just moments in games where you can shift the tide. You can change the way the room feels, the way that the game feels, the way that the players feel. And the Cowboys had an opportunity before the half. Again, go score. Go do something with it. Come back after half. Do nothing with it. The clock management, terrible. Just everything feels, again, what was that? Rushed.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as what we were talking about with Dak Prescott and what he's going through, I've been talking about his mechanics, and it's just an indicator that he's not comfortable, whatever the reason, physical, mental, whatever. So the way that he's playing is on par with what I see with his body language and kind of how he's just been looking. Like, I see a player that's unsure. I see a player that's not confident in what he sees or his player's ability or the other player's ability to get open for him and things like that. It's just not there. And maybe he do need to sit down for a little bit. I mean, he's going to get some time to get healthy and everything, but, like, I'll be straight up with y'all. Some of the hits he's been taking, even so, not running. But the way he's been getting lit up in that pocket, and I will say that the tackles, Terrence Steele and Tyler Guyton, the penalties, brutal.
Yep.
I'm not going to sit up here and sugarcoat it just because he's a rook. Brutal. Every single one of them hurt. Every single one of them felt like a moment in the game where you needed to sustain a drive. It sucked.
And you feel it, too.
Yeah.
You feel that drop of energy from
And Terrence Steele is, he has his spots, man. Like, he has times where he plays clean football for maybe 12 reps, and then he has that real bad rep. And it's just that give or take with him at this point. It is what it is. I did feel like parts of the offensive line play better. They just, to your point, cannot play a complete game and haven't put it all together. If everybody failing the test, we need to do rate my professor.
Yeah.
I'm just being straight up with
it's
you.
true.
Like, this offensive line play, it just doesn't make any sense to me because you look across the pond at Atlanta and they have players, Matthew Bergeron, who you didn't want to draft. They do have players, but when you look at them talent to talent, you say, oh, okay, the Dallas offensive line should be able to play this well. They should be able to do these things. So there is something wrong. And I don't know if guys are kind of beat up. We talked about Zach Martin dealing with something. He's been dinged up. Tyler Smith, I ain't seen him on no practice report. I ain't seen Cooper Beebe on no practice report. I ain't seen no Terrence Steele on no practice report. I know that Tyler Guyton was dealing with the neck strain. And
that happened in the second quarter.
And that happened in the game as well. But, like, I'm running out of reasons why this offensive line can't get a yard.
But also, I'm tired of just putting it on, you have 2 rookie players on this offensive line. At this point, that's a fact, but it's not the sole
Atlanta's
reason.
playing with a backup and a rook. That's the nature of the NFL. Every offensive line is not going to have an all-pro.
Yeah.
You're going to have to figure out how to get the best out of your talent, whether it's 5th round, 6th round, whatever. It's a unit. It's a unit. It's not one player on one player. So for me to look at them and see that they still have not figured out how to play as a unit is what's frustrating for me. It's like, where is the cohesiveness? Why is there a lack of it? Why isn't your run game married to your pass game? What are y'all doing? What are the conversations that y'all are having? And then you come out here, we ain't even got to the fact that Rico making some shake out of nothing.
Out of nothing. On that note, I'm going to stop right there.
My bad.
Because we got
I
to
was
take
about
our
to snap
second break.
again.
Because then we're going to get to talking about Rico Dowdle up next. We'll be right back with
Get
more
my
Girls Talk Boys
soapbox
Talk.
ready.
My bad.
The Dickey family always mandated that the only Polish-style sausage worthy of their restaurant must have high-quality coarse ground beef and pork, rich spices, and fresh natural casings. We still serve it to this day, and it's so popular, Dickey's sausage has been named the official sausage of the Dallas Cowboys. The perfect matchup on game day. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. No one outsmokes us. Order at dickeys.com. For groups, call 866-BARBECUE.
Dibs on the ribs.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby. The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Witness the biggest boxing event in modern history at Netflix and MVPs Paul versus Tyson and Taylor versus Sonaro. Head to AT&T Stadium on Friday, November 15th as international superstar Jake Paul takes on the baddest man on the planet, Mike Tyson. And don't miss Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano's long-awaited rematch for the undisputed super lightweight championship. I think I said that right. Limited tickets are available now at SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing partner of AT&T Stadium.
Go ahead and get your tickets, but before I let you keep finishing,
I am.
because I know
ready.
you wanted to shout out Rico Dowdle. He did have a day, 12 carries for 75 yards. Then you look at what he did in the passing game, 5 receptions, 32 yards. As running back 1, which Jess Navarez has been preaching the last,
I have
don't
tape
know how long.
that says I said this since last year.
I remember.
Before
I remember.
last season was even over.
Go ahead, Aisha. What you got? Thoughts on Rico Dowdle's performance?
Oh, I was excited for him.
What a tone change. I
Tone
know.
change?
I was excited for
That was
him.
very Jekyll and
No,
Hyde
no,
of
no,
you.
no.
You switched up real quick.
Well, because I was snapping because, again, what took y'all so long? Like
that part.
Like this give this gentleman an opportunity to get a feel for the game, get into a rhythm, and show what he can do when he shows you what he can do. And I mean, I've always thought Rico Dowdle, when you initially look at him, you're like, oh, that's a running back.
Yeah.
Oh, you like, depending on, you'd be like, oh, that's a running back. And then you watch him a little bit, you're like, oh,
Even
he can do some
talking
things
to
in the
him.
passing game too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he can do some things as a route runner too. Oh, he can run physical. Oh, like he has a nice little toolbox to his disposal, and it was cool to see him kind of put some of that on display yesterday. You see some of the explosiveness, you see the power, and one thing that he's been, and I know I was hard on him initially, is the vision. Is like some of the cutbacks he made, some of the things that he did in the open field. I'm like, heck yeah, Rico. And even that catch that he made in the
Incredible.
Yeah.
That was so great.
takes a lot of concentration to be able to do something like that, especially in that moment. And you needed that desperately. I'm glad that they finally got to this point where they're allowing him to get a feel. It just is definitely for sure frustrating that it took this to get to this point for him to have increased snaps, and you see some positive things come from that. Now, listen to me. I could be tripping. Y'all tell me if I'm tripping.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm not saying they abandoned the run. I'm saying that they did start to pass the ball a lot more. You did fall behind,
Yeah.
which I understand. My spirit tells me they weren't behind enough to just completely go away from it.
Yeah,
I
they were
thought
down.
they
I can agree
had
with
some
that.
time.
Yeah, but
14-10.
I'm asking.
But you have to
I'm
remember
asking.
that in the second half is when you had the pre-snap penalties and you were
Yes.
falling behind the chains.
Okay, because I was
So-
trying to
so-
figure out what it is,
Yeah.
what the disconnect is for me mentally, where I'm like, I'm watching this game. I rewatched it this morning. Where's the disconnect between they're running the ball well, he's averaging like 6 yards a carry, they fall behind a little bit, and then it makes sense. The penalty start.
You can't
I
play
think
a
the falling,
complete game.
the falling behind was not just the scoreboard. The
Yeah.
falling behind was falling behind the sticks. With the thing. So
You had 3
that
false
was my
starts
feeling
early in
with
the
it.
third quarter.
Yeah, because the pre-snap penalties, those were second half.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so when they were having the success running the ball, particularly in the first half, they weren't shooting themselves in the foot in the same way.
Yeah.
So I point to that because certainly McCarthy wants to be able to hand the ball and get 4 or 5 yards. And by the way, I think they averaged over 6 yards a carry
He's one of the best days on the ground this
and
year.
as for I was told pregame by very reliable sources that it was going to be Rico's game. Because I asked what should we expect rotation wise with Dalvin Cook being elevated from the practice squad for a second straight week and knowing that Zeke's at home and didn't make the trip and was inactive. So would they work Dalvin in by series or what to look for? And they said, no, this is Rico's game, and Dalvin will get spot duty. Yeah. And that's what happened. So Rico, whose highest percentage of snaps going into the game was 50%. He's been averaging about 40 to 45%, but his highest was 50% coming into the game. He got 71% of the snaps yesterday. And Dalvin Cook, he only had 7 snaps and 9%. And Lipke played a little less than I thought he would. Yeah. Because Lipke's getting more tight end. Well, more tight end because, by the way, Luke Schoonmaker only had 1 snap.
Yeah.
After 2 snaps the previous week.
Real quick. Let me soapbox about Rico Dowdle. I haven't gotten to talk about it, and you know how I feel about this. Like, if you're an avid watcher, you know how the heck I feel about this because Rico Dowdle should have been named your starting running back going back to training camp. Like, to me, that was the first mistake made in not establishing a run game, was not establishing this is your running back 1, we're going with it. Like, having this running back by committee, to me, set your offense back about 2 steps behind where it needed to be from the beginning. So I am glad. Yeah, it took 9 weeks to get here, but you have your running back 1. And by the way, I feel like with a guy like Rico, you don't need a 1-2 punch per se, but to have Dalvin, to have Zeke kind of back up Rico, great. But at this point, I'm sorry if it's hurting people's feelings. Don't care anymore. You need to get your run game going. If you want a chance to continue to sustain your season with a 10% chance of making the playoffs at this point, you want Cooper Rush to be successful, I don't care whose feelings it hurts anymore. You need Rico to stay your running back, and he needs to continue getting about 70% of those snaps.
All right. On that note, this has been a great show, ladies.
That's how I feel.
We'll be back here tomorrow for more Girls Talk, Boys Talk, brought to you by Invisalign. We'll be back here tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Bye.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!